finally exercises his playoff demons. Giannis out for the Bucks, Trey out for the Hawks. The NCAA is letting athletes get paid. And it's Bobby Vanilla Day. Welcome to Two-Way Takes. Everybody, welcome to Two-Way Takes. This is our debut episode. I am your host, Matty V, with my co-host and younger brother, Producer Mitch. Producer Mitch, how you feeling today, buddy?
Pretty good.
Excellent.
First episode. Let's get it.
I know. Excited. This is a project that Mitch and I have been cooking up for a little while now. It took a lot of time to put everything together. We're very excited about it, covering everything in the world of sports, collectibles, grab bag items, you name it. We're in there. So very excited. We are going to start the show with one of the funnest days in the entire world of sports. It's Bobby Vanilla Day. July 1st, baby. Bobby Vanilla, possibly the luckiest man in the history of pro sports. Mitch, why don't you take us through and let the people know all about Bobby Vanilla Day?
This is a crazy day. I just learned about this recently. And in the year 2000, the Mets agreed to buy out the remaining $5.9 million on Bobby Vanilla's contract. However, instead of paying Vanilla the $5.9 million at the time, the Mets agreed to make annual payments of nearly $1.2 million for 25 years, starting on July 1st, 2011.
Wild.
This includes a negotiated 8% interest, by the way, so he's just stacking this cheddar. Here's the twist, though. At the time, Mets ownership was invested in a Bernie Madoff account.
Because it's the Mets. Because it's the Mets, baby.
That promised double-digit returns on their investment, and the Mets were poised to make a significant profit if the Madoff account delivered, but it didn't.
Obviously. So, shocker. New York's second favorite baseball team strikes out with the Bernie Madoff account, and they've been in disarray ever since. So, that's Bobby Vanilla Day. In a nutshell, big ups to that man. That man is going to be getting paid till he's 72 or 73 years old, getting a fresh $1.29 million until he's in his 70s. Amazing. Congrats, Bobby. We love you. Going to start off the show today with some headlines. We got a lot to talk about. Mitch, let's kick it over to the headlines, baby. First thing we got on deck is the NBA Conference Finals. So, lead story, got to be Chris Paul. CP3 finally gets over that hump. The man has been a historic, I hate to say it, choke artist. And I love Chris. I'm a big Chris Paul fan, been a Chris Paul fan since he came out of Wake Forest, since he came into the league. But my goodness, it's tough to look past some of this man's collapses over the past decade or so. I mean, most notably, 2014 against OKC, that 3-1 collapse, and the collapse against Houston in 2015. The man has just had the ultimate David Copperfield disappearing act in the playoffs. It was nice to see him get a dub. I'm not going to lie. It was really nice to see him get a dub. And not just get a dub, but get it in convincing fashion. So we have Game 6 last night. The man goes 16 of 24 from the field, 7 of 8 from 3, drops 8 dimes, had 41 points, a 41-point statement game. Probably the most polar opposite you could get from the disappearing act he's had in recent seasons, whether it be him getting hurt, whether it be him going over in a first half, or just completely being invisible on the court. You have to give the man his credit. The man showed up. The man showed up in a big moment. He played his absolute ass off, and he elevated the rest of the team. I mean, this Phoenix team has looked so good all season. It's looked like a true title contender. Of the 4 teams still remaining in the conference finals, you have to look at the makeup of that roster and believe they're the most championship ready team. You just have to. I mean, you look at the other guys around the roster, even DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton is a guy who probably before this year, a lot of people were already having, little whispers about, is he going to be a bust? Is it the prototypical big man taken number 1 overall that just doesn't contribute when he needs to? I'm going to read off a couple stat lines from DeAndre Ayton really quick, who's been just as big of a contributor to the Suns and their success, particularly in game 4 and 6, as Chris Paul. So game 6, okay, 16 and 17 rebounds, efficient as hell, 8 for 10 from the field, logging in 40 minutes. That's a hell of a shift for a guy who's out there essentially playing a secondary and tertiary role to Chris Paul and Devin Booker. That's efficiency at its finest. Plus 19 on the plus minus as well. Game 4. This is even the big one. This is a huge game for him. The game 4 win. 19 points. 22 boards. 22 boards. 19 and 22. 8 for 14 from the field and 3 for 3 from the line. 9 of those boards on the offensive glass, too. This team is built absolutely to win a title. Absolutely. I honestly think they could have contended with anybody in the West this year, even with a healthy Laker team. If LeBron and AD were all healthy, never ran into the injury woes, I truthfully do believe that this team was the team to beat coming out of the West. Even you put Kawhi, a healthy Kawhi, on the clip, I still think Phoenix wins the series. The Clippers probably stretch it with the superstar power of Kawhi, but I truly believe this is the most balanced team that's finding their form right now at the most ideal time. So big ups for CP3. One thing I didn't want to touch on with him, obviously, being two-way takes, there is two sides to every takes. CP3's card prices, man. You talk about a guy who is absolutely loving the month of June. June 7th, you could have bought his 2005 Topps Chrome Rookie PSA 10 for $800. Today, July 1st, one sold on eBay for $1,600. So you're looking at a full 100% increase in his rookie cards. That's Topps Chrome. That's probably the best flagship comparison we can use to kind of get a baseline of his prices. So, I mean, the surge is real. The surge is real. And you're seeing it with DeAndre Ayton. You're seeing it with Devin Booker as well. You're seeing that postseason surge and whatnot. One thing definitely to be cautious about is, I mean, you saw this with LeBron as well. Going into the October 11th finals this past fall, you did see some surges in a lot of his rookie cards. Obviously, his Topps Chrome, his base, and his refractor parallel both saw some really good surges. But after the October 11th final, you did see him dip. Now, one thing I do find different, and I do think would be different with Chris Paul, is LeBron's been so established that legacy, you can only do so much more, in my opinion, to really bolster the value of his cards. Chris Paul, if he wins the title, he goes down as a top 3-point guard of all time, in my opinion. I think it's Magic, Curry, and CP3, 1, 2, 3. I mean, I know you got the Oscar Robertsons of the world. You can put Isaiah Thomas in the mix. But you look at what he's done, really the only thing he's missing on his resume is an NBA title. I mean, he's always going to have to deal with, the shadows of 2014, 2015, the disappearing acts he had. But winning a title this year, I think will prevent some of that post-championship slide, should they win, of course. But I do think if he delivers a title to Phoenix, so I think the last time they went to a title was 93, I think it was, against the Bulls, I believe as well. But if he delivers a title to Phoenix, I truly do believe that's one of those measuring stick / sort of checkpoint moments in someone's, hobby career per se, that will solidify his card prices for years to come. That's a benchmark moment for him. You know what I mean? He's got no title to his name. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, I don't care who you are. You can hate on him all you want. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. To get that title, and if you go a step further, if he should win the Finals MVP, I mean, the guy's a lock. I truly do believe. I mean, you'll see a little bit of softening because it's going to be hype. But I do believe if you were to look at it relative to the beginning of the season and year over year from here on out, I don't think those cards go down in value. And again, that's the 2005 Topps Chrome PSA 10s. That's what we're using as a baseline comparison for that. On the other side of things, on the other end of the NBA Finals, we have the Bucks and the Hawks. Series is tied up 2-2. We actually just got word a few minutes ago, saw it on ESPN breaking that Trae Young is out tonight. Giannis obviously out tonight, hyperextended that knee in Game 4. Did you see that play, Mitch, where he hyperextended his knee?
Jesus, I wish I didn't.
Oh, man, brutal. You hate to see it to Giannis, man. Like, as an unapologetic Giannis fanatic, I love his game. I know people, talk like He can't shoot free throws. He can't play around the perimeter, yada, yada, all this stuff. He's so fun to watch, man. He's so fun to watch. And it's honestly, it's almost too cruel for the Milwaukee fan base. It really is. Milwaukee has such a great, robust fan base. They love the Bucks in Milwaukee. They absolutely. I have a couple buddies who live in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and in Milwaukee. They love the Bucks, man. They absolutely love the Bucks. They have a serious spot in their heart for the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis. I mean, he could have easily by now done the whole prototypical superstar move and talk his way out of town, or eat his way out of town, a la James Harden in Houston. He could have done any one of those things, but he did it. He stayed, he stayed loyal. Milwaukee's front office has said, hey, we're going to surround you with the pieces that you need. And to a degree, they have tried. They go out, they get Drew Holiday. Obviously, they've developed Chris Middleton. They haven't drafted terrible. You know what I mean? So it really is. It's tough. It's tough to watch Giannis have to watch from the sideline tonight. Equally, it's tough to watch Trae Young. I feel like NBA fans as a whole are not getting robbed, but they're being a little disserviced, unfortunate disservice by, two of the brightest young stars and developed stars in the league not playing in a pivotal Game 5 tonight, with the series tied up. But it is what it is. That being said, some matchups to watch tonight, man. Milwaukee's really got to pick it up. Particularly, you have to look at the play of Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday. So we're going to go back to some Game 4 numbers really quick here, and really how they collapsed in the 110-88 loss. Have to be more efficient, right? Chris Middleton, box score, 0 for 7 from 3. Drew Holiday, 2 for 7 from 3. You cannot have your two main facilitators and shot makers go 2 for 14 from the field. If the Bucks have a chance tonight without Giannis in the lineup, you need better than 2 for 14 from 3, and you need better than a collective minus 43 plus minus from Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday. You need more. You need more. You need more from them. And it should be noted. It should be noted that these numbers, the piss poor performance from Milwaukee in this game, a lot of it was done with Giannis on the floor. He didn't get hurt until the third quarter in Game 4. So there's gotta be some restructuring in terms of Milwaukee's philosophy to this game. I mean, you look at some of the matchup numbers. I mean, three-pointers we went over. They were 8 for 39 total from three-point land. Atlanta, 13 of 38 for 34% versus Milwaukee's 20%. Assists, Atlanta, 26 assists versus 19 for the Bucks. Total turnovers, Atlanta only with 12, Milwaukee with 15. Points in the paint, Atlanta with 46, Milwaukee with 44. You have to be better across the board if you're Milwaukee. I truly do believe Milwaukee is the better built team to go forward. I don't think either team matches up particularly well against Phoenix, but I will say, supporting cast-wise, it's tough for me to look at a team like Atlanta where you're reliant on, big nights from Kevin Huerter, from Bogdanovich, from John Collins, who's been good but streaky at times. It's tough for me to look at that team and think, okay, Atlanta can get quality production out of them. I mean, you look a couple games ago, that 38-point night, 39-point night from Kevin Huerter. You can't rely on that. You can't rely on that on nights that Trae Young's either out, nursing this ankle injury, or he turns it off. Trae Young hasn't exactly been a beacon of consistency either. So it's tough for me. It's tough for me to look at this, even with Giannis out, when Trae Young's out, and I think it was Barkley, it was either Charles Barkley or Shaq on TNT the other night, said something like, the Bucks look like a good team, not a great team, because a great team in Game 4 the other night with Trae Young, with the opposing team's star guard out and like the centerpiece of their offense, that's the type of game that a great team, you take like an MJ Bulls team, that's the type of game that a great team puts their foot on the throat of the Hawks and says, good night, take a 3-1 lead, and you force them to take the next 3 out of 4. Like, there's just no way around it. You know what I mean? So to see the kind of shooting performance we saw out of Middleton, Drew Holiday, it's tough, man. I mean, I know you don't expect much out of PJ Tucker, but 3 for 7 from the field. It's tough. I mean, obviously you can't really expect much out of Lopez. Even the bench, man. Even the bench. You look at the minutes that were put in by Pat Connaughton. Ofer from three-point land. Portis 1 for 5, all minus on the plus minus charts. You can't have that tonight if you're Milwaukee. You just can't. You have to convert at the free throw line. You have to be better shooting the ball. And I truthfully think they need to slow the game down. If they slow the game down a little bit, they limit the momentum, they limit the possessions that Atlanta can get, and they stay out of foul trouble. I see no reason why Milwaukee can't take it to them tonight, close the series out in 6, and just move on. Move on, let Giannis heal up, and get a good series against the Suns. I mean, truthfully, Mitch, who are you pulling for? Who are you pulling for right now overall in the finals? I'm curious to hear your take on this.
I mean, I got the Clippers, man. If Kawhi stays healthy, I mean, I think they could wrap it up pretty quick.
Clippers got eliminated against the Suns.
Well, I mean, that shows you how much I'm watching basketball this season, dude. I was out when the Celtics were out.
That's fair. That's fair enough. But regardless, some interesting bits on that Hawks-Bucks series, though, on the card side of things. One thing that caught my eye earlier today was Giannis's rookies right now. And it's interesting, too, because I really thought that they were going to pop heavy prior to the knee injury. They're kind of at a little standstill right now. His 2013 select rookie, right? PSA 10. I really, really think this is a buying opportunity, particularly if they win tonight and they can extend this series out a little bit where they can let him rest up and they can have him healthy for the final. I mean, the MRI did show no structural damage to his knee, which is great. So it's kind of a touch and go, day-to-day thing from what the reports out of Milwaukee have been showing. 2013 select rookie PSA 10. You can have one for under $1,000 right now. There are multiple listings, went for $800 to $900, somewhere around there. And the kicker, and we'll get into this a little more when we talk purely about the card market, but it's half the pop of Prism PSA 10s. It's half the pop. So it's trending up 6% over the last 30 days. Half the pop, so Select was produced a lot less than Prism was early on in 2013. I think that's a buy. For any of you guys who are interested in exposing yourself a little bit to Giannis right now, I do think it's the same sort of category as Chris Paul. It's similar where Giannis doesn't have the Hall of Fame career behind him like Chris Paul does on the Suns. Chris Paul retires tomorrow, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Top 5 in assists. All-time great point guard. He's a top 3 guard of all time. It's amazing. And the amount of games he's done it in as well, when you look at the guys in front of him, the Mark Jacksons of the world, Oscar Robertson, John Stockton. I mean, he's done it. He's put up all of those comparable assist numbers and whatnot in 200 to 400 less games. So I think there's a similar case to be made in terms of price holding should Giannis convert a title for the Bucks. Milwaukee's going to go wild. Milwaukee's been dying to be a contender since the days of Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar left town. So they are absolutely dying to be a champion. If Giannis can deliver that, now you have his back-to-back, I think it was back-to-back, the 2 MVP years plus an an NBA championship. You have to assume if he's going to lead them to the title, you have to assume he's probably going to get MVP. I'd be stunned. I mean, you have to have a significant performance from. I think the only other option is really Chris Middleton. Should the Bucks go on and move, so I mean, I really think should they make it to the finals and win, it's his MVP as well. To lose, which only bolsters that card price. I mean, you go multiple MVPs, an NBA title, and an NBA MVP. All in the span of 5 years. It's really tough to see that kind of card going down. And again, that's the 2013 select rookie PSA 10, especially with the low pop that it is in comparison to the Prism. So it'll be interesting. I know Hawks Bucks, it should have just tipped off, actually. We're 20 minutes in and should have tipped off already. I'm just checking the score real quick here. We'll let that load up. But, yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting tonight. No Giannis, no Trey. So, yeah, it's going to be, big matchup to watch. You got to look. I mean, I guess Drew Holiday against Lou Williams. Lou Williams, what a story he's been, man. Like, that guy, sweet Lou, coming out. It looks like the Bucks actually are out to a 22-10 lead. So, it looks like they started pretty quick, which is exactly what they needed. Yeah, Middleton coming out scoring, Brooks Lopez scoring, and Holiday. So you can see in the first 7 minutes already. Middleton 2 for 4, Lopez 3 for 3, probably in the paint. Drew Holiday 3 for 4, 1 for 2 from 3. That's the kind of start you need. You need efficiency from those guys. Those are the guys that you need to kind of control the tempo of the game and push it forward if you're the Bucks. So looks like they're in some pretty good shape early. Next headline as we move beyond the NBA, another big story in the world of sports. How about this one? The NCAA passed unanimously legislation to allow athletes to be paid. They're allowing athletes to be paid. Finally. It's the NIL, the image and likeness, their name, image, and likeness, according to the ruling by NCAA this week. So now you have NCAA athletes can go out, they can sign endorsement deals with companies, they can monetize their social media, which is going to be absolutely huge for a lot of these younger athletes that are coming up that are huge on Instagram, huge on YouTube. They're going to be able to monetize that, be able to bring revenue in there, and they're going to be able to work with professional firms who handle a lot of these, sourcing. I imagine they're going to be kind of like agencies to be able to source these relationships with larger companies, to be able to bring offers to the table for them. It should be noted, and I actually thought of this when I was reading this up earlier, working with a professional agency. I did read that NCAA will have rules in place where contracts signed with these professional agencies, with these athletes, cannot include any sort of stipulations that require the athlete to be represented by these certain agencies once they turn pro. So I haven't read up enough on that, but I did read enough where the NCAA is making it very clear to these agencies and any of these companies that if you join into a partnership with their athletes, there cannot be language, there cannot be any sort of stipulations, legally binding stipulations in the contract that force them to say sign with any sort of representation, sign with that agency beyond the scope of what's outlined here in the name, likeness, and image clauses. So pretty interesting stuff, honestly. And I think one of the most interesting things about it is probably one of the first things I thought of is how is this going to impact recruiting for college players? Particularly, hear me out on this, right? Let's say you have a blue chip recruit. You have a blue chip football recruit, okay? And he's choosing between, let's use Florida State and Michigan State, because I don't think Michigan has the particular piece of legislation I'm going to use as an example, right? Let's say this recruit is right down the middle. He wants to either go blue or he wants to go Noles, right? Imagine the leverage that someone like Florida State, anyone in the recruiting office has at Florida State to say, hey, recruit XYZ. If you come to Florida State, not only can we hook you up with the same endorsements that everyone at Michigan can, but guess what? There's no income tax here, baby. There's no income tax. Imagine the leverage. Recruitment places like Texas, A&M, the U, BYU, all the Florida schools, the Gators, the Noles, the U, Miami. That's an extra piece of leverage that you're going to be able to bring to these blue chippers. And granted, whatever the percentage is for that income tax, for the state income tax, whatever that percentage is, you start converting that into numbers and putting it in front of an 18-year-old kid, let's say whatever it is, 5%, 6% on the state income tax, whatever it is, and you say, hey, you go to Big Blue, you may make $100,000 a year, you may bring that in, or $50,000 a year, whatever the arbitrary number is, you know what I mean? You put that out to the recruit, you can make that here. But imagine if I told you could keep an extra $6,000 in your pocket. You could keep an extra $4, $5, $6, $7, $8,000 in your pocket that state's not going to tax you on. That's a big deal. That's a big deal to an 18-year-old. Mitch, when was the last time when you were 17 and 18, when we were 17 and 18, how far could $5,000 have gone? If someone made any sort of claim like, hey, you got $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, that's a huge fucking sum of money. Right? Is that not huge?
I would go insane if someone offered me like 500, never mind 5,000.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. And granted, obviously there's kind of a degree of relativity, so to say, where, if you're a top flight Division I athlete, that money is going to be coming in regardless. But still, to be able to have the leverage to look a blue chip recruit that tons of other schools are probably going after as well and say, hey, you can come here. We can give you XYZ. And by the way, we're going to make sure your pockets are a lot more full than if you go over state lines, 2 states over, 3 states over, wherever the case may be. That's a big recruiting tool, man. That it's going to change the game. Another thing that's going to change the game, right? So the NCAA is allowing these partnerships with, larger companies, endorsement deals, things like that, right? Look at the Pac-12, okay? You look at the Pac-12 and all those West Coast schools, okay? You got companies like Nike out in Oregon, California. You got everything, Facebook, YouTube, everything is Silicon Valley, right? Everyone is there. If I'm the Pac-12, I am absolutely salivating right now. Absolutely salivating. Because you look historically, and this was I think it was either First Take, I forget if it was Stephen A. who was talking about that, lightly talked about this, how the landscape of where regional recruits could shift. Where you look like down south, right? Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Mississippi, a lot of those southern areas, football's a way of life. It's particularly high school football. It's a step above high school football anywhere else around the country. So a lot of those recruits stay local. You know what I mean? They're not getting paid right now. So, the best recruited, they're going to stay local. They want to stay near their families, yada, yada. If you're the Pac-12 and you can start dangling partnerships, paid partnerships with Nike, if you're Oregon State, and you can go to Nike and say, hey, we're graduating Pac-12 student athletes that are going to work for you afterwards anyway, that are going to be exposed to your brands that you can then have access to when they turn pro. They have to be thinking, let's work out a deal. Get all these recruits. Let's get all these Big 10, these Big 12 blue chip recruits that end up at A&M, that end up at Texas, that end up at BYU, that end up at Bama, Alabama. Imagine Nick Saban. If you're UCLA, the wealth of opportunities and companies that you can offer in downtown Los Angeles that you can now pitch to recruits, you know what I'm saying? Versus, what is Nick Saban pitching? He's pitching, we got, a couple franchise Ford dealerships here in Tuscaloosa. It really unevens the playing field in a way that I think is honestly really healthy. I think it's really healthy. I think if the Pac-12, and I'm using the Pac-12 specifically because of the wealth of assets, the wealth of companies and whatnot that are out there on the West Coast that could be utilized. If I'm the Pac-12, man, I don't know off the top of my head who the head of the Pac-12 is, but I have to be licking my chops. I have to be getting on the phone today. Should have been on the phone all day today with every major company in Silicon Valley, every big social media brand, and start working some relationships. Start working the phones, get some partnerships together that you can leverage into the upcoming recruiting seasons. Because for that blue chipper from Austin, Texas, from Oklahoma City, from wherever, that stud linebacker, that stud running back, wide receiver, whoever it is, if he's teetering on the fence and you start dangling him all this social media clout, all these great partnership clouts, coupled with a premium Pac-12 program, a premium D1 program where they can still get exposure and possibly make more money by monetizing social media, by utilizing all of this name, likeness, and image rules that they passed, it's tough to compete with. It really, really does put schools like UCLA, like USC, like Oregon State and Oregon, it puts those schools back into the mix. In my opinion, it puts them really much back into the mix, fighting against those traditional Southern powerhouses in the Big 12, in the Big 10, in the SEC, the Bamas of the world, the LSUs of the world, who can recruit regionally and keep a lot of those, tight-knit family guys to go to their schools, to not go all the way across the country. It changes the game. And obviously, we're looking at this from, kind of like the business side of things and how the schools can utilize it from a recruiting standpoint. Honestly, the biggest thing, it's fucking awesome for the players. It's so long overdue. Look at Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush had that statement come out today, and I feel for him, man. Like, Reggie Bush, probably, I guess you go back to like O.J. Simpson. You go back to, I'm trying to think like the most electric college athletes, college football players of all time. Reggie Bush got to be in the discussion at least, right? That man got stripped of his Heisman, stripped of all his records at USC, like he didn't exist. One of the most, in our generation, in our lifetime, by far the most electric college football athlete we've ever seen in our lifetime, in my opinion. I mean, I think you could probably go back to guys like Herschel Walker, guys like O.J. Simpson. I mean, I'm sure there are guys that you could hark back to, but in recent memory, in the last 2-3 decades, I mean, it's Reggie Bush. It's Reggie Bush. Like, I've never been a huge college football fan, and I was tuning in on Saturdays to watch and see how Reggie Bush was going to run loose for USC. So, actually, I'll get the quote right here. And I feel for him here, man. I feel for him. Statement to the NCAA regarding his Heisman Trophy. He said, and I quote, "Over the last few months, on multiple occasions, my team and I have reached out to both the NCAA and the Heisman Trust in regards to the reinstatement of my college records and the return of my Heisman Trophy. We left multiple messages from Michael Cornerford, the president of the Heisman Trust, but instead received a call from Rob Whalen, the executive director, who stated that Mr. Cornerford would not be calling us back and that in any event, they could not help us. We reached out to the NCAA on multiple occasions and received no help, got no response at all. It is my strong belief that I won the Heisman Trophy solely due to my hard work and dedication on the football field, and it is also my firm belief that my records should be reinstated." I don't blame the guy. I don't blame the guy. Why shouldn't he get his Heisman back? Why shouldn't his record stand? That man was running loose, making a fool out of everybody on Saturday mornings for years. Give the man his Heisman. Like, I honestly, it's gotta be a pride thing. It's gotta be a pride thing with the NCAA, because you gotta know there's some old heads at the NCAA that when this was getting voted on, they knew the walls were closing in. The heat, it just got too much. It was too much heat on them to just really go to bat for the athletes. So they're harboring any little pieces of pettiness they can possibly cling to, they can possibly hang over. You look at Chris Webber, another one from the Fab Five, all those banners being hung up at Michigan for, them getting, a few bucks for lunch here and there, getting sneakers while the Fab Five was at Michigan and all that stuff. And then you're going to strip, everything that they did. Like, Chris Webber's that's another perfect example. The NCAA, they just want a grip. They just want a grip to the last little things that they can hold on to, because the power struggle's over. There is no more power struggle. It really is. The next couple of years or so, it's going to be the Wild West, and I love it. I mean, the level of work that student athletes put in, particularly, I can't even speak at a Division I level. I started at Division III level where I went to college, right, with some of my roommates, some of my good friends down in Rhode Island. The level of work they put in at the Division III, this is not to disparage against Division III athletes by any means, but the level of work that they put in was tremendous. Tremendous. Morning workouts, morning lifts, to then go to class, go work out again, team study, post-afternoon workout, and then you got to go home. You got to write your papers. You got to study. You got to read. You got to, whatever it is. It's a full-time job. It's an around-the-clock job. And the respect I have for D2 and D3 athletes, who a lot of them are on full scholarship. They truly are there because they love what they do. They love playing the sport they're at. I can only imagine, I don't know many D1 athletes at this level. I can only imagine that the level of work, the level of dedication, the level of organization that you need to have as a Division I athlete is exacerbated significantly at that level. So to take someone like Reggie Bush, who literally needs to be in tip-top shape every single Saturday morning to go out and perform, to go out and make a future for himself and get drafted as a top 2 player in the NFL, I mean, you gotta throw these guys a bone. I don't think the NCAA will. Honestly, I mean, after reading the quote from him, I honestly don't think they will, because, like I said, they lost the war. The war is over. You know what I mean? The student athletes won, and I just can't see the NCAA giving up, these last little nuggets that they can hold on to. All the old heads there. It's tough. What do you think about this, producer Mitch?
It's a great situation for the athletes, for sure. I mean, it's been fun to watch the explosion on Twitter happening here. Like, I mean, everybody's chiming in. Like,
electric.
I mean, Emmanuel Acho posted a little jab at Texas. It's him and a buddy. I forget. I don't know his teammate's name there, but he's pictured with one of his jerseys, and he's like, "Man, I wish Texas could cut the check retroactively."
Oh my goodness, that's a big thing that a lot of athletes have been posting. People all over Twitter saying, "Oh, I would have gotten the bag here and there." I mean,
It's true.
the jersey sales alone, man. I
Oh
mean,
my God.
it was Keyshawn Johnson was talking on ESPN, and he was talking about how he went back and was watching a college football game, and there was a suite named after him. There was the Keyshawn Johnson suite that he watched the game at, and everything in the suite was all pictures of him playing, all sorts of like jerseys, memorabilia from him, and he said bluntly, he's like, they didn't ask me this. They didn't ask me if they could use my name. They never ran this by me. They never asked if they could use pictures of me with my helmet off, hanging out like in the suite. That's crazy. That's crazy. Like, what other planet can you be on that's okay? Like, where else is that okay? What other industry is that okay? I think it's awesome. I think it's great to finally level the playing field. Let these athletes, men and women, both get paid, and it's not even just the major sports. It's across the board. Everything from golfers to tennis players, lacrosse players, baseball players, football, basketball, hockey. Pay them all, man. Pay them all. Let them go get their money. Let them host their camps and clinics. Let them monetize their Facebook and YouTube pages and Instagram pages. Like, just let them live. Let them live. A lot of them, especially at the D2 and D3 level, imagine some of these prominent athletes who just chose D2, chose D3, that they can now monetize, tutorials on their Instagram and YouTube pages. You had that kicker from, God, I'm blanking on him now. The kicker who chose his YouTube channel over his scholarship because he was generating so much revenue. The NCAA was going to revoke his amateur status if he kept monetizing his YouTube channel. Good for, like, those are the types of stories you like to see. We're gonna cut it off there. Oh, one more blip. I think the funniest thing out of all this is just kind of a little funny one. BYU released a statement. Those fucks. BYU released a statement that said while they will be conforming to the NIL legislation, BYU still will require athletes to follow their code of conduct, which means they must refrain from endorsing any alcohol, tobacco, or coffee and caffeine. Wild, man. Wild. Not that Folgers is knocking on the door to I mean, honestly, maybe
You never know. You never know.
Maybe they will, honestly. I mean, if anything, it's got to stay up late for an exam. Imagine Zach Wilson last year at BYU gets approached by Folgers, and it's just Zach Wilson before a bowl game. He's just got a steaming hot cup of coffee there, takes a nice long sip. Folgers keeps me going for first downs and for my exams. Just something like, it's just wild. That's some typical BYU shit, but regardless. Great story, great win for the student athletes. Very pumped for that. But all right, we are going to move on to our next headline, which is going to be one of the most enjoyable tournaments I have watched in a long time. I'm talking about the 2020 UEFA Euro tournament. This thing has been absolutely wild. I am a soccer fiend, and it's been an absolute pleasure to watch, despite Portugal exiting the tournament this past weekend. But we do have a really, really nice crop of games here coming up for the quarterfinals. Belgium, Italy, Switzerland, Spain, Ukraine and England, and the Czech Republic and Denmark. Denmark, the feel-good story, obviously, with the collapse of Captain Christian Eriksen on that first game day, the very scary incident going into cardiac arrest on the field. Just a bizarre tourney. Just a bizarre tournament all around. I think you can probably sum up the whole thing with this one stat. There's one stat that was, I think it was after the Czech Republic game. There have been 9 own goals in this tournament, in the course of the entire tournament. 9 own goals. In the entire tournament's history, prior to this past weekend, there have been 9 own goals total. Ever. So they have eclipsed the total number of own goals in one tournament that the entire tournament has seen in its known history, in its documented history. Absolutely wild. It was the Italy game. It was the backwards pass, not the Italy game, the Spain game. The backwards pass from Pedri, just wild. Just honestly wild. So it's been wild. Probably even more wild is the group of death. France, Germany, Portugal, Hungary. Truly was the group of death. Every single team out before the first round of the knockouts. Just insane. I mean, the big story there, obviously, France going down to PKs against Switzerland. But I'm gonna do a quick little breakdown of the games. 'Cause I know there's some of our soccer friends watching it tonight. So first game on the slate, and this one's tomorrow, I believe. Belgium, Italy. Okay, probably the most exciting, most competitive game on paper, I would say. So last I heard, Kevin De Bruyne is questionable to play. Eden Hazard most likely not playing for the Belgians. That's going to be big. I mean, obviously, De Bruyne came on, had those two huge plays to lift them up over Denmark in the last round of group play, had the assist to Thorgan Hazard and the game winner. I had a lot riding, admittedly, on that game, so I was hella hyped when I saw him bury that goal. I mean, that's a team that fully healthy could have contended for the title. They're running into Italy right now, though, who minus a little bit of a snag in their last game, their first knockout game, have looked absolutely unstoppable. Absolutely unstoppable. 1 goal conceded in their last 7 matches. 7 matches, 1 goal conceded, and it was the last knockout game. So Italy, I mean, you're looking, Insigne has looked awesome. Immobile hasn't put it in the back of the net like you'd want, but still, if you've watched any of the games, he's in on every play. He's creating. He's laying balls off. Insigne has looked so good playing off of him. Spinazzola has looked awesome at that left wing back, whipping balls in. Just all around. Even Locatelli came in, had a 2-goal game. He's been contributing. That entire team looks so dangerous right now. It's tough for me to find... Even with De Bruyne, even with a healthy De Bruyne and Eden Hazard, I mean, I looked to the Portugal-Belgium game this past weekend where the second half of that game after Portugal went down and they started to, they really let the reins loose and started bringing the game to the Belgians. That's when the Belgians really looked most vulnerable, in my opinion. I mean, they really looked, they were back on their heels most of the game, most of that second half, inviting pressure. They didn't really want to play that type of game. They wanted to dictate the tempo. And that's how Italy's been playing this entire time. This entire tournament. That's how Italy's been playing. I think it's a problem matchup for Belgium. I like Italy. Switzerland, Spain. Big matchup here. Sneaky matchup. The Swiss are coming off the knockout of France, okay, in PKs. They're going to be playing without Xhaka, but they have Mbolo and Shaqiri. They're the type of team that you can't fall asleep on. You cannot fall asleep against these guys, and you have to take advantage of every opportunity. And for the Spanish, that phrase, taking advantage of every opportunity, is not exactly something they've taken to heart. I'm looking at you, Alvaro Morata. I'm looking at you. But, I mean, Spain's the better team on paper. They're the better team on paper, up and down. I mean, they have the pieces. They have the playmaking. They have all the pieces to run away with this game. But so did France. And I mean, the Swiss, for a smaller nation and a nation that they've always been feisty. They've always been feisty. Even in the World Cup qualifying, they've been in World Cup qualifying groups with Portugal a few times. They've always been a feisty squad that can come alive at moments. And if you're Spain, the key to the game is you just need to take advantage of every opportunity they give you. You really do. You just need to take advantage of every opportunity that's given. If Morata has 2 or 3 chances and he doesn't bury one, it's going to be tough going because the Swiss will make you pay. They'll make you pay. They made France pay twice in the last 10 minutes of the game this past weekend. They will make you pay. Ask France. Ask Mbappe. Ask Pogba. They will make you pay if you don't slam the door shut on them. So I do think Spain, after that, that 5-3 win that they had, Morata finally got the monkey off his back. He scored a big goal that ended up being the game winner, I believe. I do think that they'll play with a little more confidence and kind of bring the game to them. But nevertheless, it's still one to watch. Ukraine, England. I will admit that I've been the biggest Gary Southgate hater. I've been the biggest England hater probably this whole tournament so far. I've hated just about every lineup he puts on the field. This is someone who's shamelessly invested in a lot of young England players, a lot of young talent on that England side. So it's kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little extra. But it's sneaky, man. Sneaky. Ukraine is so sneaky. Granted, I know they only played Sweden in the first knockout leg. Sweden's no pushovers, by the way. No pushovers. But there is a feistiness that Ukraine play with. between Zinchenko, Yarmolenko. There's guys on there. You look at the Yarmolenko goal that he scored against the Netherlands in that. I know they ended up losing that game 3-2. If you're England, you need to come out and you need to just take the game right to them. You can't let them linger. You cannot let them linger like you did against Scotland. They cannot play a game like they did against Scotland in group play. That was an absolute abomination of a game. That was an abomination of a game, so poorly managed by Southgate. I honestly think if they just absolutely put the gas down, they play a more attacking lineup, keep Grealish in that starting 11, let him create, let him cook, and give Harry Kane some help. I'm going to riff really quick on Harry Kane because I know there's been some people, I know even Robinson on ESPN was talking about how Harry Kane has underperformed for this team, how he hasn't had enough touches on the ball. I'm going to tell you this. There were some halftime highlights. Harry Kane is not getting any sort of support around him. The guy's a world-class striker, okay? He's shown that at Tottenham for years, okay? When he comes back to try and get a ball played to his feet, it's a clogged midfield. You know what I mean? You have all these guys. There's too much space. There's not enough space for him to cook. They're missing all his runs behind the back four of defense that he's making. If you watch the tape, you watch these games and you watch Kane, he's making diagonal runs. He's making runs over the top. They're either missing the runs, they're overhitting those balls, they're not playing them in. His supporting cast, that supporting cast of England, has not played a great style of football to really encourage Harry Kane to have an impact on the game. I truly believe that. So I really think you have to get him involved. You have to get him involved. You have to let him find his flow and get into the game. Last game on the slate, we got Denmark and the Czech Republic. Czechs really need a strong performance from Patrick Schick in this one. The Danes just playing with all this Christian Eriksen, absolute hunger, absolute passion for their captain. I will say, a little side note here, I love the under on this one. All the over-unders on all these games, by the way, 2.5. So any of you guys who are hitting any of your local sports books, I love the under on this one. I think this is going to be a very carefully paced game. I don't think either team really wants to be the one that makes the mistake. They're staring down a semifinal with the winner of the Ukraine-England game. And I want to say it's the furthest that either team will ever have gone in the Euros. So I will say I think you hammer the under on that. Look for Patrick Schick for the Czech Republic. I think the Danes end up pulling it out, especially Yusuf Poulsen is going to be playing. They had a big game from Kasper Dolberg, their other striker, this past week. So I do think between them, guys like Martin Brathwaite, I think they have enough to take it to the Czechs in a 1-0, maybe 2-0 game. But at the same time, it wouldn't completely surprise me if Patrick Schick pulls a magic out of his hat and pulls one out for the Czechs either. But I really do think the Danes are a team of destiny until they run into the semifinals. So player to watch out of all these, I'm looking at Jadon Sancho. The man just confirmed a transfer to Manchester United. I would love to see him. He's going to join up with the likes of Marcus Rashford, teammate, Mason Greenwood, Bruno Fernandes. I would love to see him more involved in the lineup. It's honestly really curious why Southgate hasn't put him into the lineup, but nevertheless, that's why I'm sitting here running a podcast, and Gary Southgate is over at Wembley Stadium coaching the England national team. But so that is it for headlines. Let's kick it over to one of the little fun segments that we're doing here. It's What's Lit with producer Mitch. This is producer Mitch's time to shine. Tell us what's going on in his world. Mitch, what's going on, baby?
Hey, just working on the transition here. Almost got it. But in the meantime, what do you think about the tournament as a whole? What do you think? Any card values rising? Who's been the player that's impressed you the most? What's going on there?
Player that's impressed me the most in the tournament. So I would have to say, it's tough because on the one hand, Kevin De Bruyne has come in and had the biggest impact for Belgium. Honestly, I would say prior to their departure, Karim Benzema has looked awesome for France. He was an absolute breath of fresh air for that starting 11. I think it was long overdue to get him back into the French national team. But then, Insigne for Italy, he's looked so, I know he doesn't have all the numbers, but if you look at his impact on what he does for the Italians, it really, really does, create a pace of play that's conducive for the Italians. I think he pushes the ball forward. He's constantly moving. He's constantly setting guys up in and around the box. So I would say one of those three, to be honest with you. But for those of you who don't know, back to the What's Lit with producer Mitch. Brother Mitchell is an avid cigar connoisseur, so I thought that'd be a fun little something to bring to the table today. Avid cigar connoisseur and esports enthusiast. So, Mitch, what do you got? What do you got lit up right now? What do you got? Well, not lit up. What do you? What cigars tickled your fancy lately? I know we had some last weekend. So hit me with what you've been smoking.
It's been today you have the Oliva Serie V in the Lancero shape. It's a good one.
I love Lancero.
They're nice.
My favorite
they're
cup.
Nice.
Favorite cup.
It's like elegant. It's not too girthy, so it's good. It's easy to smoke. It's very nice. But yeah, that's what's been keeping me busy for the past, I would say, week or so as well.
Really, you've been on an Oliva kick too.
Yeah, I have.
You've been on the Oliva kick.
I have a box of Melania Maduros as well, and it's pretty good. It's been very nice. They've been great smokes, that's for sure.
Excellent. Gonna have to look for some of Mitch's cigar reviews on the Two Way Takes page. That's a fun little bit that we want to incorporate. Like we said, it is a variety show, so nice to take a break from me data dumping all the nonsensical sports information that sticks in my head. So
we'll get you a couple more breaks here and there across the show. You're gonna have to talk for a full hour.
To do it for sure.
Work in some chat questions too at this point. Probably that'd be nice. See if anyone.
We got anyone in the chat?
There's people. Yeah, we got a nice baker's dozen viewers on Facebook. Some handful on Twitch. So we're doing pretty good here. Lots of people that can chime in for sure.
Yeah, if they got any questions. I mean, I know we're trying to keep it to under an hour, so we only got 9 minutes left here. Why don't we do a little buy or sell to go into the home stretch here of the pod? I don't want to go over an hour on the debut episode. I promised I would keep this short and sweet, deliver what the people want. So
buy or sell it is.
Let's hit some buy or sell. Let's hit some buy or sell. See what we got. What do we got on the list this week?
Damian Lillard gets traded this offseason.
I'm selling. It's a hard sell for me. It's a hard sell specifically because I don't think he really wants to leave Portland. I really don't. I think in his heart of hearts, I know there was the whole thing with Chauncey Billups this past week. I don't think he really wants to leave Portland. And I'm not sure anyone is going to step up to the plate. I mean, not for that. I love Dame. He's going to be 31 in a week or so. He's got miles on him, man. I know he's absolutely electric. He's a top 3, top 4 guard in the league right now. I just can't see a team. Like, I know people have been chirping about the Celtics. There have been Celtics trade rumors flying around, or people, cooking up the trade machine for stuff with Jaylen Brown, putting in Marcus Smart, first round picks, all this stuff. I'm selling it. I don't think any team ultimately steps up and pays the price that Portland's going to put out there to unload him, to want to rebuild as fast as they can. Because Portland's still a contender. I mean, you still got McCollum there. You still got Nurk there. I'm selling. I'm selling on that one.
Yeah, makes sense, man. Makes sense. Second one here. Jordan Sancho. Is he? You touched on it earlier, but is he going to be thriving at Man U? Like, is this a good move for them? What do you think on that?
It's an amazing move. I mean, he was absolutely electric at Dortmund. Absolutely electric. Granted, it helps when you're playing with a guy like Erling Haaland in front of you, who puts everything in the back of the net.
Absolutely.
But he's pacey. He has a great vision for where everyone is on the field. He distributes the ball extremely well, and he finishes the ball really well. It's really exactly the type of player United need to play up top with Rashford, to a complementary piece with Bruno Fernandes. You can play off Greenwood. I mean, he's got his countrymen that he's already at training with and whatnot. I think it's a great move for United. I think it's a much-needed move for them. They did not finish well in the Prem this year. They need some more. They need some more excitement. They need some more energy in that attack. They need to get back to Champions League football playing United that I think a lot of EPL fans are used to, and I think it's a step in a great direction. I think it's a great move for him. I think it's the knock on him is that he sometimes turns it on and off in games. I don't think he'll have the luxury of doing that on the big stage in the EPL because the English press is absolutely ruthless, especially in his home country. That's his home domestic league. So I'm buying that. I'm buying Jadon Sancho thriving at Man United.
This is two-way takes after all, and we need the second view. What do you think about the card market as a whole right now?
The card market as a whole, I'm buying, baby. I'm buying. And I'm truthfully, I'm not just saying I'm buying just because I'm a cardaholic, but anyone who asks about the market, I mean, obviously the last like 2-3 months we've seen a dip, we've seen a lot of market corrections and whatnot, and some softening in prices across the board. Now, what I tell people who bring that up and say, "Oh, the market's over, that's it, it's crashing, it's all done," wrong. You are wrong. Here's why. Take the soft market prices that we saw in the last 2 months, reference those cards and where they're at price-wise 18 months prior. Reference them 12 to 18 months prior to what they were doing. You're still looking at 100, 120, 130, on the low end 60% increases from just north of a year ago. So relatively speaking, yeah, from January, like we'll even go back to December. We'll roll back December, January, February, right? Where the market was just shit. You open a blaster, you can triple your money. You get in a break in a hobby box, and it's just everyone's just going buy crazy, like going nuts. Yeah, obviously that's impossible to keep up. No market, sports cards, the stock market, any commodity market, no market can keep that up. None. It's not feasible. It's not healthy either. To see market corrections like this and to see money kind of reset and recycle and get ready to redistribute out into different products, into different players, that's healthy. It's a sign of a healthy market. And again, relatively speaking to prices 12 and 18 months ago, we are still very much ahead. Very much ahead. So I'm buying that. I'm buying the market as a whole.
It's good to hear that confidence. What do you think about the Clippers being able to beat the Suns if Kawhi's healthy?
I sell. I'm going to sell. I'm going to sell partially because, I don't know, there's just something about Kawhi I don't like. But
You're a hater.
But also because I truthfully think, like we talked about earlier, I truthfully think that the Phoenix Suns are a really, really well-built team that all around, I mean, the proof is in the pudding, man. It's easy to say Chris Paul would have pulled a disappearing act, but the fact is, Game 6, guy drops 41 points, 16 to 24, shooting 78 from 3. Could that change if Kawhi's in the game? Yup. But there's no one here saying that he couldn't elevate his game either. I'm selling that notion. I'm selling it. I think Paul George actually mentioned it in his press conference, that salty fuck he is, but I'm selling it.
All right, last one here. Lionel Messi at Barcelona.
Oh, buying. There's no shot. I know his contract expired. There's absolutely no shot he's leaving Camp Nou. No shot. Buy. They're getting a deal done. It's the fair play rules that are the only things holding them up right now. I'm buying heavily.
Okay, and we're in the last couple minutes here, so before I head over to the 2-minute drill for our Q&A, I have a question in the chat from João Manuel.
Nice.
It's what do you think about CR7 thinking to opt out of his last year at Juventus?
I think it really depends. It depends on. So this is a loaded question. So, where's he gonna go? That's the thing. Is like he kind of like. A couple months ago, he's kind of squashed the rumors that he would go back to Sporting already. The only thread of evidence, the only shred of evidence that I could see him going back to Sporting is he wants to play Champions League football. And Sporting just won Liga NOS. They're going to be playing in the Champions League next year. That's the only thing that I could see. And again, I don't think it's going to happen, but that's the only thing I think any kind of Sporting fans who want to see Ronaldo back there now, I think that's the only thing that they can cling to is that they just won the league, they're thriving, they're going to be playing in the Champions League, and I don't know if Ronaldo has a small enough ego to resist the storyline of returning to his home club to lead them to one last Champions League charge and just keep breaking goal records. That's kind of it on that.
And lastly, the 2-minute drill.
Oh, let's get it, baby. Let's get it.
Alrighty. Who wins tonight's Hawks and Bucks game?
I got the Bucks.
Bucks. Got it. Can Montreal come back against Tampa?
Fuck the Canadians.
Fuck the Canadians. That's right. Fuck the Habs, brother. Is Joe Burrow ready for the start of the NFL season?
Hell yes. Big Dick Joe. Love it.
Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. Who do you
Give
got?
me the Gypsy King. Give me the I love Deontay Wilder, but he's a one-punch pony. Give me the Gypsy King.
Wow. All right. Oh, looks like something's going on with our thing here. I'm gonna just shout the questions here. Best pound for pound fighter on the planet right now.
Canelo Alvarez.
NFL breakout candidate.
Jalen Hurts. Even though hurts to say, but Jalen Hurts.
And elite summertime ice cream.
Coffee Oreo. That's it. Coffee Oreo. That's the show. That is episode 1 of Two-Way Takes. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed. We're going to be going live every Thursday night at 8:30 p.m. That was a ton of fun. Mitch, that was fun. That was a good time. That was a lot of fun. And we're not going to go over on the first episode. 60 minutes on the nose, baby. On the nose. Oh, man. Absolutely pumped. Thank you to everyone who hopped in and watched. Appreciate you all. My name is Matty V. For producer Mitch, thank you guys. This is Two-Way Takes.